and welcome to Two Tired Teachers.
Today we want to talk to you about what you're going to be seeing over the next month, 6 weeks or so, and that's what we've been doing this past month. And it is July 8th. We will get home on the 10th, and I've never been this cold in June and July. But there's a reason for that. And actually the theme of this, as you're going to see, is go with the flow. Just,
Yes.
Don't stress the little stuff and just keep going. And so we left home on June 10th, I believe it was. And we're going on a mission trip.
Yes.
And sometimes people ask, how do you decide where to go? I'm the list maker. I have a list of places that we haven't been that we'd like to go, and a list of places we've been that we would like to revisit. And so Great Lakes were on our list of places we've never been. We'd never seen a Great Lake that we would like to go. And so when the mission trip for Madison, Wisconsin was offered at our church, looking at the maps, realized, well, Lake Michigan is a no-brainer. It's right there.
Yes.
And then actually if we go up and around, we could hit Lake Huron, and then Lake Superior is just right there.
Yes.
So we can get 3 knocked out on this trip. And our preferred method of travel is when we're starting out, we drive hard.
We feel good.
Day 1, day 2, we can drive hard, but then we're going to need a couple of down days. Then we can go for a couple of more, and then we need some downtime. So that's kind of our mode. So, you may not see it going from Central Texas, but Land Between the Lakes, which was a place we wanted to revisit, we decided, hey, we can go there, then we can go up to Elkhart, Indiana. We've gone a little bit east, but then we'll come
to the
RV museum there. And then we'll come back around to Madison and then go see the Great Lakes when we finish. But it started with day 1. I had called ahead, and if you call ahead to Walmart's, they will let you know. Yes, you may park here overnight, or no, you can't. And usually it's a city ordinance.
Yes.
Usually. We've had a lot of people saying, oh, you can't stop at Walmart anymore. Well, we've called a number of them that have said yes. But anyway, I had looked at one in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and as we were driving, we realized, hey, we're fresh. We're good to go for at least a couple of more hours. And MiLena got on and found us an amazing dispersed site in Arkansas.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was. It was a small town. It was a gorgeous dispersed site.
Yeah, it was a lake, and it was a fish and wildlife area.
Yes.
And it was just 2 miles off of the interstate, and it was you drive on a paved road, you're parking on essentially like real fine gravel, but it was wonderful. And there were two clearly defined areas.
Yes.
And each of those areas could have held at least 2 RVs each. But when we got there, another lady pulled in across the street, and she and her German Shepherd, and in a conversion van, and so that was where we stayed overnight.
And we got up the next morning.
Well, it stormed that night.
Oh, it stormed. It did storm.
And we heard...
We were fine.
Yeah, we were fine. But we heard something during the night. And so the next morning,
we got up, got ready to go, got on our way, and stopped.
Yeah, we had driven about 3/4 of the 2 miles, a mile, 2 miles to get back to the interstate, and we'd gone maybe 3/4 of a mile.
And when we first saw it, we thought a tree had fallen. But it wasn't a tree, it was a huge branch.
And the 2 of us together could not begin to budge it. And so I went and looked, and this is going to be rectified, but I did not have a saw of any kind with us.
So we were breaking off smaller
branches that we could
to see if maybe that would
over
lighten
time we could. I mean, we had no choice. We're stuck here on this little road that leads out to this fish and wildlife area.
And we hadn't been at that but for about
maybe a minute.
Yeah. When a truck pulled up.
Yeah, a guy coming from town. Well, town is a big one, but coming from the other direction, and had like a little trailer that for lawn service.
He does lawn care, but
lawn care, not long hair.
Yes.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, and he had a chainsaw with him.
Yes,
and another man.
The parks and the wildlife people had asked him to go and take care of water that was blocking
clear out
the road,
anything,
or clear out whatever happened to be blocking.
And so he gets out with the chainsaw, and MiLena and I, well, we did some, but the other man, essentially, and we're just moving all that off the road, and I mean, less than 2 minutes after they pulled up, the road was clear, and we were on our way again. And MiLena actually, on day 1 and day 2, was very lethargic. She could not stay awake. We're listening to audiobooks, and
I wasn't.
She was just not able to stay awake. And so we got there to Land Between the Lakes. Beautiful dispersed site. We love it. Taylor Bay. And it is they call it something else, but it's a first come campground. No hookups, which is fine. Our freshwater tank was full when we got there. And
we got there on Wednesday.
And I was asking MiLena, do you want to go to a doctor, see if there's some? No, I'm fine. And so Thursday morning, she said, well, I didn't bring my B12 with me. Maybe if we go to a CVS. So instead of just resting Thursday morning, from the middle of Land Between the Lakes, you're at least 30 miles from anything. So we go north. And go to a CVS, and she buys some B12
and some iron. I had iron, but I didn't realize it.
But anyway, so we go up there and get home. And
I'm fixing lunch. Lunch is my deal. Breakfast is hers. And I'm fixing lunch, and I
happened to have come in, and I was standing right here.
I didn't feel quite right before you came in, and then I don't know what happened.
She starts to stumble, and I think she's going to sit on the couch, and next thing I know, she's on the floor, and her eyes are wide open, and
nobody's home.
And my goal was to keep her from rolling on her face because she just passed out completely, and so I kept. It's one of those things that it feels like it lasts forever. It's probably 30 seconds or so, but finally...
She kept shaking me, and I didn't know. All I knew was I'd taken the best nap ever.
And so then I just said, going to the clinic is not an option anymore.
And I said, am I on the floor? And it's an odd place to take a nap.
But I went outside, and we were parked right at the boat ramp area. And there were some guys launching a boat, and I said, are y'all from this area? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, where's there a walk-in clinic? And they said, well, you got to go about 30 miles. And so we went to where Murray State University is there in Kansas. And Kentucky, sorry. And so we went over to the clinic, walk-in clinic, and really appreciated the
PA. She said, I'm going to examine you, but passing out with your...
Well, she asked some questions, and our family history with heart disease and stroke, and then passing out with her eyes open.
And she said, that could be heart problems or seizures. And I need for you to go to the emergency room. Do you promise you're going?
They will be able to run a series of tests and get results that she just could not do. And,
yeah, we promise.
And so then we spent... And the people at the campground, it was so nice. They were, yeah, we'll look after your stuff. Don't worry about a thing. And the next day...
yes.
Not to jump ahead too much, but the next day they came down to check on everything, make sure everything was fine. But they ran all kinds of tests, and some of them twice, and found nothing. They kept asking, both places, any nausea, any diarrhea? No.
Not then.
And we didn't know that was just a precursor of things to come.
So they let me go with directions about a clear liquid diet for the
And,
next 24 hours. And I thought that was stupid.
well, yeah, and she was feeling okay.
Tired.
And then, yeah, the next day, things started going downhill some. Let's just say I went back to Murray because we needed to do some laundry. And so, you know, we are still a week out from the mission trip part of this thing. And, you know, I asked her, do we need to go home? And our big deal right then was just, we can stay put. We're here.
Built in days.
We had planned to be there 3 nights. That was our goal. That's what we paid when we got there. But I told her, I said, look, we can stay here. As long as we need to, we can stay in this site. We're good. We don't have to do anything. But we didn't have great cell reception there. And so, thankfully, we did not have any reservations for the first week and a half. Well, actually, 2 weeks of this trip, we had no reservations. They told us at the church where the mission trip was, we can park in their parking lot. And we were looking at some first-come sites on our way up, or, you know, whatever. And so, instead of being there 3 nights, we ended up staying 5. And that gave MiLena a chance. When I did the laundry, I bought a bunch of Gatorade and electrolyte kind of stuff. And that gave her a chance to start really kind of coming out of it some. And so then we changed. Instead of going over to Elkhart, we went back more toward Madison. And as we were leaving after our 5th night there, we were going north, so we went up to the North Welcome Center to empty our tanks. If you've never been to Land Between the Lakes, it's awesome, but it's a big stretch of land between lakes, and it's long and narrow. The Visitor Center is actually in the middle, and then there's a Welcome Center north and south, and all 3 of those have dump stations and potable water. And so, since we were heading north, we went north, got up to the Welcome Center, and the dump station is behind it. So we pull in, we dump the tanks, we pull up, we fill up our fresh water tank, and start around the loop, and I hear clunk, clunk, clunk. And we'd gotten up early so we could go on and get a good drive day in. And I stopped and looked, and we had a huge bolt in the front tire on the van, on the driver's side. And so we had a nice big parking lot there, so I just pull around and pull into the parking lot and go into the visitors center, the Welcome Center, and ask the lady, do you know anybody that can come out and change a tire? We've got a bolt we need. So she gave me a list of, she said, all I know are we've got some wrecker services. So I call, and the first man said, where are you? And told him we're in the North Welcome Center at Land Between the Lakes. And he was close by, I mean, relatively speaking. And he said, yeah, I can come out there and get that taken care of for you. And so I told MiLena, look, this guy's coming. Go in and lay down. There's no need for you to stay in the van. And, you know, this is where you learn as you go. My thought was, we've got to change this tire. And I'd already been looking at lowering the spare under the van and all of this stuff.
Where is the nearest discount tire?
To get this tire fixed and all this stuff. A man who's done this all of his life comes out, looks, and his immediate response was, we can plug it. And so, long story short, instead of being on the road at 8:30, by the time he brought out, it was a huge bolt. He brought out plugs that were more like for small bolts or nails. And so he got it plugged and some air in it. so that we could follow him back to his shop. And we're hitched. We're towing, follow him back to his shop. He can get these giant plugs and get it plugged and air in it and get us on our way. So we get on the road, and this is one of those times where tell MiLena, okay, change of plans again. Here's the path we're going. Find a Walmart. And so she did. She found a Walmart where we were able to go and spend the night. And that gave us a little bit of time where we then spent the next 2 nights. We've mentioned this before. We will stay, Walmarts are an overnight. That's just pretty much your Walmarts, Cracker Barrels, places like that. But hotel casinos will let you stay multiple nights. And so we went to in Iowa, we found a hotel casino, and we went in and talked to security, and they said, yeah, you're welcome, stay as long as you want. Now, I think if you move in there, they're going to have a problem with that. But we'd ask, can we stay here 2 nights? That was going to be how long we needed before we got to the church. And they were fine with it. And it was a great stop.
Yes.
Just to have a day and a half just to do nothing and rest.
Yes.
And then we got to the church. They were awesome. We asked them, where do you want us to park? And he said,
I don't care if you park right in front.
He said, there's tree line over here, there's tree line over there, highway that direction, road this way, anywhere in there you want. And he said, but if you want to park over here behind the church, you can plug in. And it was just 110, but that was awesome. And
because when we went on the mission part of the mission trip and we're out for the day, it got warm in Wisconsin. Unlike here, it got warm in Wisconsin, and we could leave.
It's a portable air conditioner. We're going to have a video about that.
We left it on for the pets, and it was great.
It was awesome. And then when we left there, we went past where our first campground was going to be and went all the way over to St. Ignace, I believe is how it's pronounced, so that we could see Lake Huron. And we're able to stick a foot in Lake Huron. It's chilly. I mean, I've been fishing in Texas in May and June, and it was warming up like bathwater. This was not bathwater. But able to stay there at a casino parking lot overnight on Lake Huron. And guys, that scenic drive along Lake Michigan is amazing. And we started seeing signs for pasty. We didn't know that's how it was pronounced.
No.
And MiLena had read a book and knew this is a meat pie. And so we stopped at just a little. We did buy cheese while we were in Wisconsin, and we did try a cheese curd. And somewhere up north, Culver's. Yes. That's frozen yogurt. I tried that. But then we went to a grocery store, and they had pasty. Now, I did not know at the time, because it was in a heated thing, just like Walmart has rotisserie chickens that are in heat warming ovens. This was a local grocery, and so they had pasties, and I thought meat and potato was the standard, and so they also had a little thing of gravy, and I went up and asked. I didn't know that was a big deal up there. This is arguments start over whether it's really a pasty if you're eating gravy with it. But I went up to the counter to pay, and I asked the lady, do I need gravy? And she kind of looks around. I was clueless. And she said, well, what kind is it? And I said, meat and potatoes. And she said, I personally like gravy with them. And I'm like, okay. So the lady in line behind me, do I need the gravy? And she said, what kind? And she said, yeah, go on and get the gravy. So I got the gravy.
It was edible without.
Oh, yeah, it was good without, but I liked it better with the brown gravy. But that's if you've never seen one, I'll show you some picture video here of it. But it's definitely a UP, Upper Peninsula. We did not know this stuff before we got there.
Where the Upers live.
Yes. We spent 2 weeks in Uperland. We didn't know. and we would see this image, and it's like, okay, that's not a shark, it's not a bat, it's not a fish, it's not a dolphin, what is it? And now we realize Michigan and UP Michigan, there's the UP Michigan has its own little outline and stuff. There are t-shirts that have 903, that's because that's their area code. So we got all this education while we were up there. But anyway, that was really good. And so bottom line is, before we left the UP, I had another pasty. And when we were in a bakery, and I said, and do you have gravy? And the girl's like, oh no.
Okay.
Would you like some ketchup? I didn't use it. I went on and took it just in case, but didn't. And then we have a bunch frozen that we're bringing home as souvenirs, because they're really good. But we did not make a video about just the night we spent on Lake Huron, but then on Lake Michigan, she's still kind of out of it. She's doing okay. I mean, she's not throwing up. She's not, but she's not 100%. She's not outgoing and doing a lot of stuff. But we stayed at the campground of
Little Bay
de Noc. And it's a national forest campground. And it's on a peninsula between Little Bay and Big Bay. But it's on the Little Bay side. And at the very tip of this peninsula, we have a video about our campground there. But at the very tip of this peninsula is a lighthouse. And that was the lighthouse I'd seen before. I've only seen one other, was on the Oregon coast, and it was a big tourist thing. We were the only people down at this lighthouse on this gravel road, and it was really cool.
And you could go to the top.
It was only about 3 stories,
but
it was fun. It was very, very neat. The campground was gorgeous. I was able to get my kayak out on Lake Michigan in this bay, just on the outside of the swim area. I mean, I wanted to, say that I did that. And the campground was gorgeous. It's one of the things we love about National Forest campgrounds. Yes. The forests are going to be different depending on where you are, and it was just beautiful. And so we got to drive the scenic coast of the Michigan over to St. Ignace and back. And when I'd gone in and gotten the Michigan map, the woman said, well, the most scenic coastline of Lake Superior, if you don't mind backtracking just a little bit, go up to Minas?
I don't remember.
But anyway, there are a couple of towns, and you can drive along, and it was gorgeous seeing Lake Superior. Yes. And then we ultimately went to Black River Harbor recreation area that run by the National Forest Service. And it is...
And that's where it came to life.
Yes, it's just east of Ironwood. It's on Lake Superior. And we learned a lot there. The Black River got its name because of the hemlock trees that leached color into the water. I was able... Okay, people freaked out when I said I was on Lake Superior in my kayak. I was in the harbor most of the time and went up the river some and played around in that area in my kayak. But I did go out just beyond the breakers, the rock walls.
Barriers,
just so I could say I was actually on the lake. The land was 20 feet at maximum behind me. I was wearing a life vest. Had whistles. I mean, there were boats there. But it was fun. Got a really cool picture. But it was an amazing... MiLena did come to life, and there was a lot to do there. She went from basically nothing to hiking, a mile and a half one day, out to some waterfalls. There are a series of waterfalls on the Black River. And
we rode our bikes.
The campground has, Little Bay de Noc had 38 sites. This one has 40 sites. And what I liked about both of those is about half of them were first come.
Yes.
We have videos about both of those campsites. But it was gorgeous.
Yes,
it was beautiful, and we did see a bear. We've been in a lot of campgrounds that have bear boxes and bear-proof trash and all this stuff.
Warnings about the bears.
And we've never seen a bear in a campground until we were at the one that had no warning. I was looking. I started to take Theo out going down the road once. I thought, it looks really like there could be bear out there. So I didn't go. Sure enough, saw a bear. But it was beautiful. And we were there 5 nights. And yeah, I would definitely go back again.
I would too.
It was...
I might go back to the others. I don't really recall.
But it was really cool. Actually, it's really cold. I've never been so cold in July in my life. But anyway, so that was the big extent. Then if we left there, we came back and spent one night at a hotel casino parking lot. And we made a video there about our Camco levelers because they had gotten to where they were slipping on asphalt. And so we came up with a solution, and we've made a brief video about that. We are currently at Bloomington East Corps of Engineer Campground on Lake Clinton,
between Lawrence and Topeka, Kansas.
And Lawrence is actually just kind of a suburb of Kansas City.
Yeah.
And so, if you're going to Kansas City, you might want to stay here because this is a really nice Corps of Engineer campground. Yes. A variety of sites from full hookups to water and electric to no hookups. But it's a beautiful campground. We have a video about this. And we've got one more night, and we're going to be spending in Norman, Oklahoma in a casino parking lot before we head back to Central Texas. But that's what's coming up, and a lot of that we don't have videos about just because we were, constantly moving.
And you didn't really want videos of my throwing up, so... And that's what I was doing.
So anyway, she's much better, and at no point did she say, let's go home. And at no point did I really think if I had felt like she really needed to, we would have headed that direction. But just letting her rest seemed to do it. We still don't know what the deal was. Some sort of a 2-week-long bug. But we have had a great time. We know this video went on and on, but we've talked about a lot of stuff that we don't have in other videos. And so it's been fun. And we forgot to tell you, on that stretch there, as we were looking at Lake Superior, we stopped at Lakenland.
Yes, Lakenland somewhere. They call it Junkyard Art.
And it was free, and it was a super cool place to stop and
walk around
and see a bunch of artwork that you're not going to see anywhere else. So anyway, that's what's coming up for you. That's what we've been doing, and some of this stuff, like I said, some of the stuff you're not going to see in other videos, and so we just wanted to kind of include it so that you get a picture of where we've been, what we've been doing, and it may spur some stops for you. And when you're traveling, if you can, eat like the locals. And while we're on the UP, I asked, where can I get some fish and chips? Because I'd seen them advertised one place, but we were driving. Folks, these people take Fish Fry Friday seriously. We got to Black River Harbor on Saturday. And it was like, that's a Friday thing. I asked a number of people a number of times, and it was like, that's a Saturday thing. Well, I guess if you went to this thus and such restaurant, they'd probably serve you something. Like, no, not wanting that. So if you're up there and you're wanting some fresh fried fish, be sure you're there on a Friday.
Thanks for watching Two Tired Teachers.